Hello, good evening, good night, wherever you are in the world. We are here, we are live. If my own YouTube would show that we are live, there we go. There's like a delay I find when you put it on YouTube. Anyhow, hello everyone, thank you for joining. I know we're a little bit late if you're accustomed to us doing the show at 8:30. I apologize. I had some work obligations that I had to attend to, and thank God for twins being able to still do the show with me. But twins, how was your weekend?
Weekend was
You all
good.
right over
Yeah. I'm actually drinking some coconut water.
there?
hey,
Ooh,
hey,
okay.
free plug, but if you do want to sponsor in the future, hey.
Coconut water. Okay.
yeah. But no, weekend was good.
Anything with the kids? Because I know that's what you've been doing. Kids, kids, kids.
Yeah, soccer, just chilling. That's it. Nothing out of the normal. Just another
Okay.
weekend. Worked a little bit overtime, but all's well.
I love that for you. My weekend it was busy and it still is busy. I feel like it's still the weekend. I don't know how many of you have ever heard of the Toronto International Film Festival or TIFF. It's actually one of the five largest film festivals in the world. So you've got like Sundance, Cannes, all of that stuff. Anyways, TIFF is in Toronto, and because of my job, I am in a lot of industry conferences and screenings and events. And, I've been running around. Sunday, I went to like three events back to back. Yesterday, I went to three events back to back. Today, I went to a breakfast event and then I had a cocktail event. Lots of smoozing, lots of networking, lots of peopling. I'm actually exhausted. I don't think people actually understand. I'm an introverted extrovert. And what that means is I'm perfectly fine with being by myself. Hey, Mister. See you later. I am an introverted extrovert, so I'm perfectly fine with being by myself. But when I'm on, I can be very on, and I feel like I've been on since Thursday, and I'm ready to turn off. But I don't get to do that because my daughter's birthday is coming up. There's a lot of stuff. And yes, tip. So, just for Mister's sake, I work for the organization that actually puts on the Canadian Oscars. Well, it's Oscars and Emmys. Um, and so we do a lot of industry stuff. And so I am always running around. God, I'm exhausted. But, anyways, enough of that. You guys are not here for that. Thank you for those of you who have joined us. We are going to be talking Dating 101. I'm going to also be addressing shots that were fired at me specifically. Someone someone tried to come for my neck, and I'm fine with that. I am going to break down the comment. I'm actually going to give it a little bit because I invited the person. I don't know who it is. I have some ideas based on the comment. I'm not quite sure who it is, but I did invite the person who left the comment on one of our clips to come to the show and address the comment. Again, they can come on anonymously. I don't need to see their face. And if you were watching last week, Mister came on. He had his camera on. We just heard his voice, and that's fine. But I am the type of person if you're gonna make a comment in the comment section of our videos, I am happy to address it. We are not here for you to agree with us, everything we say. Twins and I don't always agree, but we have what I like to call respectful discourse. So this person really did try to come for me, and I'm gonna break down the comment. But I just actually asked twins a question. When you think of dating, how do you approach dating? Because you're now kind of sort of back on the dating scene, right? After being married for 13 years, you're back, you're dating again. But how do you view dating?
how do I do? How do I view dating?
Yes.
Or man, it's a different ball game than it was back in the day. Um, I think first off is that for me, I got to understand what I'm looking for at the moment, right? So I got to set the expectation right away with these ladies. One, I'm not looking for marriage right away. I do want to be married again, but just not right away. I mean, coming out of 13, 14 plus year, sentence, you don't jump back in there.
Did you
But
call it a sentence?
anyway, is your TV on? Because I hear a little echo, a little static.
No, mine's
People.
on mute.
No,
Mm-mm.
I can hear myself. Hey, the people, how do it sound? Everything sound good?
You sound good from my end. Everybody,
You
twins
sound
sound good
good?
from your end, Mr. Mister.
But anyway, so one, like I said, set the expectation as far as I do want to be married again, but not right away, not rushing it. And two, still not ready to be in a serious relationship, right? So the kind of like, so that's where I'm at with it. What are you looking for? And is that something that you want to accept? So more likely, it's like more like friends, possible
Mhm.
friends with benefits. But right now, I'm not rushing and jumping anything right away. The main thing for me is focusing on my kids and myself.
I love that. And thank you, Mr. Mister and Andre, for letting us know that the sound is good on your end.
All right.
For me, I'm going to tell you, dating is process of elimination, right? Like that's simply what dating is for me. It is process of elimination. There are some people that you're going to connect with and you want to explore, and there's some people that you do not connect with for whatever reason, and it's done. Like there's some people I have met that I can have one conversation with, and I can know this is just not going to go anywhere. And there's no bad blood. It's just like we're not aligned. And there are people who one conversation, I'm like, I could potentially see a future with this person because again, we're aligned in so many ways. Not everybody's going to get the job of your future wife. Not every man is going to want to select me as their future wife. And so therefore, dating is to go through and test. We don't all get the job, right? There's only one job of a CEO, guess what? There's multiple applicants for that position. They are interviewed, they are vetted, they're reference checked, there are all of these things that happen for this one position of CEO. Well, I can only be one man's wife. I can only have one husband. Therefore, as I'm going through dating, it is process of elimination. And I think there's a lot of people who don't seem to understand that, which is I'm going to go to the comment that was made about me earlier. I mean, whatever. But I think one of the things that I think people need to understand is personally for me, my nature doesn't change whether I like you or if I don't like you. I'm still the woman who's like, if you need an ear, I'm happy to give you an ear. I have talked to strangers on a bench for hours, right? I will talk to strangers in a lineup. My entire career has been business development. I literally just went to an event where I go up to people and I randomly say hello and introduce myself and exchange numbers. And because this is what I do, this is actually who I am as a person. I cannot help it. I have certain intangible characteristics that you cannot teach. It is what it is, it is ingrained in me. As I'm dating, every man gets a little bit of that, but not every man gets me. And that's the part. Every woman's going to get a little bit of twins, but not every woman is going to be chosen by twins as the final woman, right? My nature doesn't change as a woman. My nature when I'm talking to doesn't change as a woman. Unless you're a complete asshole to me, like I'm still going to be the sweet person. I might not be your sweet person. So I think there's a lot of people going into the getting to know you stage with a lot of expectations, which I think is unfair to go into because there should be no expectations in the getting to know you stage, unless I'm wrong. Like I could actually be doing dating wrong. Am I doing dating wrong by approaching it that way as a process of elimination? You let me know. Twins, Mr. and Mr. Mister actually has a comment. Oh, Lord. Mr. Mister, I haven't even read your comment yet. I'm waiting for it to come up, but I saw 40s and I thought, oh, Lord. Go on, Mr. Mister. Mr. Mister said, for men, dating in our 40s equals wondering why she's single, then finding out exactly why.
But that's a good one though. because most women usually get chosen in the late 20s and 30s. So if you make it to
What if
40,
the woman is divorced?
well, I mean, once again, that's a small number.
How so? If most women file for divorce, then the number should be. I mean, I guess you're saying not a lot of women are getting married to even get divorced.
Exactly.
Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Exactly.
Mr. I am curious. So I get dating in your 40s. I get men questioning, but women could do the same thing. Dating a man in his late 40s, early 50s with no children who's never been married. We are allowed to form judgments on those men as well. I think they're unfair judgments. I don't necessarily think a man who's in his 40s or 50s, like he's not a good man because he chose not to be married. Maybe he didn't find a woman who he felt was marriage material. Maybe he wasn't marriage material at that part in his life, right? Maybe he didn't want to have children out of wedlock, and clearly he wasn't married, so he has no children. Like, I want to know someone's story before I just think just because you're that age. Now, I don't count in your category, Mister, because I was married and I'm divorced. So somebody did choose me in my 20s according to twins. So I'm good. Go
Now,
on.
most cases, but also too is different because as men in our 40s and 50s, we're still in the driver's seat. You're not in the driver's seat. We pick and choose. Y'all don't. Y'all just have to accept if you want to be chosen.
That's going to rub a lot of women the wrong way. So elaborate.
I mean, women are no dude. Okay, most men. I gotta say it like this: most men is not gonna let a woman get down on one knee and be like, "Will you marry me?" That'd be a hell to the no.
Absolutely not.
So,
Absolutely not.
So with that being said, we are the ones who's getting down on one knee or however we do it, and we're choosing you.
Correct.
In our late 40s and 50s.
Correct.
And most women in their 40s and 50s up, they're in panic mode because they want to find someone who's there forever at this point. Someone they can just, hang up their whatever and just enjoy life with that one person instead of running the streets like they've been doing.
Correct.
That's the difference.
I do agree with that. Okay, Mr. is saying most single women in their 40s were never, in capitalized letters, married and tend to be totally oblivious to why she can't keep a man, and she usually sees no fault in herself. I'd love for you to expand on that a little bit, because I think these are lessons for women to know, right? And I think I again, this is a platform for people to be able to share their opinion, and I don't have to agree with it, but we're going to have respectful discourse. But there are women who need to understand why men are thinking that way. Andre also has a comment that I'll read in a moment. But I think it is important when statements are made, especially on our platform, I'm always going to ask you to expand on that, because for the women who are listening or for the men that are listening, I really want us to be able to better understand why certain things are being said or certain judgments are being made. To Andre's point, he said forming judgments. Forming judgments is not the same as how men judge women. Andre, can you elaborate a little bit on that one, just so for myself and the audience to better understand what you mean by that? But I think it is important. Like, why would you judge a woman who's single with no kids in her 40s? Do you not consider that maybe she's made strategic decisions to ensure that, number one, she didn't end up nobody's baby mama, right? And maybe number two, she didn't marry the wrong man. Why is it that I forgot what the term Uncle Kevin used, that they like almost put him on the put him on the cross or whatever they said, strung him up because he said that. He didn't say throwaway woman, it was another term. But anyways, like, why would the assumption not be that this woman has strategically made good decisions to ensure that she's not in the single mama divorcee club? Because that's why I look at a man who's 40s and so forth, who is unmarried and didn't have children. He wanted to make sure that his life followed a certain path.
Well, let's be honest. We're not going to find too many women in their 40s that has no kids and never been married. That's a unicorn at this point now.
I actually have one 2, 3, 4, 5 friends who are in their 40s with no children and choose not to have children.
That's a problem. Why?
Why?
Well, I mean, then again, I could understand why you guys are, because you got these high expectations for what type of men y'all want. Because based on your pickings or how you like, if it's anything similar to that, I can understand why.
Okay, Andre is clarifying his comment. He's saying she's not viable for producing an heir for said men at 40 plus. But that's also the assumption that women want children.
But it's
I know
once again,
plenty of women who do not want children,
but
like at all.
but see, that's the problem though. You
Why
may
is
not
that
want
a problem?
children. You may not want children, but the man may want to have children. So if I'm a man who has worked hard to get the 6 figures, establish myself as being ready to take care of a family in X, Y, Z, and now come across you who say who don't want to have no kids, that's a no-go for me. Because most men, we want our legacy to carry on through our kids.
But process of elimination, that's what dating is. You guys are not aligned. Right? Like I know that I have been eliminated by a lot of men because I didn't want to have multiple children. Like I had one child at a very young age and I did not want to have additional children because I do not believe with children with different men. And I didn't want to have multiple children. So I knew that I was always going to have one child. And so therefore if there was a man that wanted a child, process of elimination, we are not compatible. We do not want the same things. There are going to be people who are okay. I've also met men in their 40s and 50s with no children and no desire for children. Like zero desire. They just do not. There's some people who just do not want to procreate in this world because they think it's going to shit. And they also just don't want to deal with being a parent. That's neither here nor there, does not make them selfish. It's a decision that they have made. So there are more than enough people in my mind who have made decisions that can align and be compatible, right? If you're not compatible, you keep it pushing. Like I'm not going to force a man who wants a children to date me.
But these are
We don't
small
want the
numbers.
same things.
But these are small numbers that we're talking about right now.
Do you think so? Because I look, and again, I'm not going to just use my own life, but I look around and I even hear conversations in my workplace. And this, I'm not just even speaking about Black women, white women, Asian women. I have heard lots of women in just conversations that I'm having, networking and so forth, that we talk about children. I've been on client meetings and women have been choosing not to have children, not to procreate, actually made a conscious decision that they did not want to procreate in this world. Not just Black women. Successful white women.
Which is not a problem. So my thing is this. So what is the main question that we're trying to get out? Because it's like we keep moving. So what is the main question here that we're focusing on at the moment then?
We've moved a little bit. I'm actually going to take us back. So I went back to dating. What is the point of dating? And you answered what the point of dating, I answered what the point of dating. And for me, dating was process of elimination. And I don't see that this person has potentially is joining us. So I'm actually going to read the comment. Twins has seen the comment. I'm going to read the comment that was stated specifically about me. Okay. So the person, they're a user, so they're under some user YouTube name. They said this host, Toshiba, projects what she thinks men want, which is why she can't keep all the men she claims she talks about chatting with on the phone. I am going to repeat. This host, Toshiba, projects what she thinks men want, which is why she can't keep all the men she claims she talks about chatting with on the phone. Thoughts about that comment, twins? Before I respond.
I mean, I would need some more meat and potato on it. It's just kind of, it's direct, but it's not enough for me to go off to kind of respond back to it.
Okay, so I'm going to directly respond um, to, I'm going to break down the part which is nonsensical. So the first of all, user, whomever you are, who decided to make this comment, thank you. Thank you for actually participating. Thank you for going on and supporting our show and commenting. We love it. I love all the comments. Bring all the comments on. That is somebody who clearly knows me personally. That is someone I believe who's had a conversation or conversations with me personally. And that is someone through process of elimination I'm likely no longer speaking to. Now, when they say I can't keep all the men she claims she talks about chatting with on the phone, first of all, never have I sat here with twins and list a bunch of men or talk about a bunch of men I'm talking with on the phone. So let's start there. We don't talk about that. We'll talk about dating, we'll talk about relationships. I might throw some things in there about what's going on with me, if I've been on dates, but I do not sit here and say, here's a bunch of men twins I'm talking to on the phone. I'm doing that. So we've never talked about it on the show. So we'll take that part. And when you say all the men I speak to, I can't keep all the men I speak to. I'm not supposed to. There is only going to be one man at the end of this. There is only one man's last name that I can take. And therefore, in dating, I'm not supposed to keep all the men. I'm supposed to end up with one man. And therefore, in this process of chatting and getting to know each other, there are going to be men who fall off, whether they don't like me, I don't like them, we just weren't compatible, there wasn't a vibe, whatever it is, there's nothing wrong with it. Nothing. That's actually dating. Dating is getting together, having a conversation, connecting, and maybe realizing, yeah, Toshiba's kind of cute, but I don't like her. There are men who think I'm cute, but actually just don't like me for whatever reason. I'm okay with that. So, gentleman user 6500 2269, whatever you are, that's you're dating wrong. If you're mad at me for dating and eliminating people out of my life that I'm not compatible with, then maybe you're just dating wrong. I can't keep all of you. I'm not supposed to. I'm not running a brothel. You guys are not running through here and I'm getting to sample you all. No, I talk to you. We're compatible. We're not. We move on. That's it. So that's my comment. And if you ever feel user, whomever, you want to come in and have a respectful discourse and you want to share with the audience what you think I've done to you, because you haven't said I've done anything nice. You said I'm projecting what you think men want to hear. So clearly you're saying I'm also a nice person because men want to hear it. So you're saying that men are attracted to me and men are coming to me. So there's some great things about me. You just didn't end up in the final position. So that's that. Now we're going to go to the comments because I see there are a lot of people that are commenting here. Da, 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 da. Andre, thank you. Andre is in here tonight. Jack Spade, thank you for joining. Jack Spade, you have single-handedly given me my favorite term that I have used since last week. Patty woo-ha. Okay, Jack Spade single-handedly has given me my favorite term. If you do not know what this comes from, ladies and gentlemen, go back to last week's show when Jack Spade gave me that term. But we're going to go into some of the comments. Thank you, everybody who is commenting right now. Let me go into, here we go. Andre, again, thank you. I'm going to go to Andre's comment first, and then I'm going to go to Jack Spade's comment after that. So what Andre is saying, he said the issue with discussions like this is the way women think versus how men think. Men think in probability, whereas women think in terms of possibility. This is why women use anecdotal situations as data. I don't disagree. I will say we do think differently. This is why this show has a male and female host. Because we understand that we think differently. And in order to have better relationships, part of what we're trying to do on this show is to better understand each other. You're never going to come on this platform and see twins and I arguing, or me arguing with a male guest, or twins arguing with the female guest. It's about learning different perspective and understanding, because I think that helps us to move forward. So I absolutely get that. I think what happens is when we get emotions involved, that's when the issues come in, right? Like when you start getting emotional about somebody's perspective. That was a personal attack on me, what I just read. I'm not emotional about it because I get it. I get it. Someone is hurt about whatever I may have done or didn't do. And I don't know what that is unless the person comes on the show and says what it is. But I can't get mad at somebody for their own feelings about being slighted or whatever happened. I'm going to get emotional about it. I'm going to talk about it logically. So, I completely agree, but we also have to be listening to each other. So Jack Spade says, the only people who majority of the time sweat other people about not having a child are women. 99% of the people who sweat me about having one child were women, not men. So Jack Spade, you and I are in a very similar situation, but interestingly enough, I got it from men. So you were getting it from women, I was getting it from men. And I'm going to probably tell you why I got it from men and you got it from women, because likely the women you were getting it from wanted an opportunity to be with you and potentially realize that I'm not, and don't want to speak for you, but I'll tell you for myself, I had made a very conscious decision at 21. I did not want to have any more children. And so men would come into my life and try to give me the biggest arguments about why I was called selfish and all kinds of things by men because I chose to have one child, not to carry another child by another man in the world. I was called selfish. Those were often men who wanted to be with me. And I was like, nah, like you go off and live your life, find someone else because it is not going to be me. So again, people are going to project on you. When you are firm in certain decisions, you're going to hear it. So I don't know what made you decide to have one child, Jack Spade, but I know my decision and I was very firm in my decision and I became a mother at 21. And so I think what we often have to do when we're having conversations with people is figuring out, is this about you or are they projecting? And I think probably twins, now that you're back on the dating market, I feel like you're going to experience a lot of that. You're going to experience a lot of projection from women, projecting onto you for whatever reason, like whatever you're discussing, it now becomes caught up in their feelings and they're projecting and spewing whatever is onto you. Andre, at what point do women stop arguing, not negatively use facts filtered through their emotions? Question mark. Majority rules is a factual statement for a purpose. So I'm going to read that again so I can better understand it. At what point do women stop arguing, not negatively use facts filtered through their emotions? Majority rules is a factual statement for a purpose. Twins, you want to tackle that one? Because I have some thoughts, but I'm gonna let you speak from a male perspective.
That's a hard one because I mean that's a question for the ladies. At what point do women stop arguing? Facts filter through their emotions because y'all most of the time y'all lead with your emotions. Y'all know y'all emotional, so y'all use that as a crutch. I don't know. This is a question for you. I'm sorry.
I don't know if there is a point. I don't know if there's a point where a woman stops being emotional because we're made up very differently. So let's go back to what was said earlier about us being different, right? We're made up differently. And so therefore, where maybe men will go to logic, women will go to their emotions because that's how we are built. Now, it is about how you communicate through those emotions because you can communicate effectively through emotions. I've had to do that many times where I feel a certain way, it's an emotional feeling, but I have to be able to articulate how I'm feeling in a way that that man can better understand, understanding that he is not emotional. So it's the women that you're dealing with. How are they choosing to communicate and articulate the emotion that they're feeling? because there's being caught up in the emotion and just, I mean, I don't date women like you guys do, but I'm sure there are women who get caught up in their emotions and they act out. And there are women who are in their emotions and they articulate these emotions. So I think it all depends, but I don't think there's ever going to be a point where a woman's not trying to filter something through emotion. That's how we're built to be emotional. And that's actually what helps us because we're nurturers. We're the mothers. When the baby cries, they go to mom, right? Because generally mom is going to be the one that nurtures. It's just what it is. These are some good comments. We're just going to go through comments tonight, twins, I think. Okay, so Mr. and Jack Spade. So Mr. is saying, for me, the purpose of marriage is to raise mutual biological children together under one roof. If we are not having each other's first children together, there's no point in marrying. And that's your thing. I'm never going to argue with that.
But that alone will take a huge chunk of women off the board now. Completely wiped off. Because they already have kids already by the time they hit 40. They may even have more than one kid.
But I mean, I would not recommend trying to have no first kid with no 40-year-old woman. Listen, women are going to come from me with this one. I've encouraged my male friends who are 40. Let's just say I have a male friend that's 40 who's childless, who's looking at having a child. I've told them to go anywhere from 29 to 34. Why would you, no disrespect, but our eggs are old. It is a lot more difficult to have a baby with 44-year-old me than it would be with a 31-year-old, unless I have taken my eggs and incubated them somewhere. And why would you want to do that? Like, being a parent is exhausting. Like, why would you want to be a first-time mom at 44? Like, so no, if you are dating for that purpose, Mr., I would encourage you to skew younger, even just for the purpose of the child. I think it is, I personally think, and there again, people are going to come for me for this one. I personally think it's selfish when certain women decide to have children older, understanding that it might have a negative impact on the child. Forget you and what you feel. There's so many things that can happen to the child unless you have the money to screen your eggs to make sure that they're only fertilizing the ones that actually are okay. That is difficult for the child. So now you're 40 something raising a child who has developmental issues. So this is just strategic. I mean, I don't personally think there's any, you should be strategic when you mate with someone. Maybe that's just me. Twins, comment?
Mm-hmm. No comment right now. Well, I'm gonna hold my comment for a moment.
I feel like you want to say something.
I will.
Okay. Jack Spade. Nah, the women didn't like hearing a man who chose to have a vasectomy before creating too many oops. I love my now adult son, but I love my money one step below my love for my son. I understand that, Jack Spade. Jack Spade and I are in a very similar situation, except you got a vasectomy. I tried to have my tubes tied when I was 26, 27 years old, and they wanted me to have a psychological assessment to ensure that I wouldn't later change my mind and that I was doing it for the right reasons, because being 26 or 27 and deciding that I didn't want to have more children was so radical. So I never ended up getting my tubes tied because of that, but I did consider it because, again, I was steadfast in my decision not to have any more children because, again, I fundamentally just don't believe with children with different men. I never will. Even if that man became my husband, which I did eventually marry, I didn't want children. I just didn't want any more for that reason. And also the money. Children cost a lot and they are forever. You don't get to get rid of them. Ever. Amen. Twins.
Amen.
I feel like there's something burning in you. You want to say something. Come on, twins. Let it out.
It's coming.
Okay. So here's the thing. I'm going to go back to the comment that was made. I'm going to say it again. We encourage people to watch, subscribe. Oh, shit. I don't even have my banner playing so that you guys know. Watch, subscribe, like, share these videos, comments. We love comments, but if you're going to be in the, to quote Drake, have Twitter fingers, or now I'm going to call it comment section fingers, be bold enough to come to the stage and have a conversation with us. Whether you're targeting twins, which nobody targets twins, they target me, which is fine. I have a show called Fuck Your Feelings for a reason. It's coming up on its 3rd year. I can manage it. So, but if you're going to make comments about me, feel free to come on down. The link is always in the comment section. I pin it. It literally says join the conversation. You click that. You go backstage. We bring you to the front and we will have a respectful discourse like two adults. Don't just drop comments in the comment section. And when I challenge you, then you scurry away and you have nothing to say. That's my comment. Hold on. There is more. Okay, Mr. I'm just going to read these comments tonight. Y'all guys are going in. Ladies, I'm encouraging ladies to come and watch this show more. I know you ladies are watching, but for some reason, you guys are not commenting. The men are killing it, and I do love it. But ladies, come and also comment. Let's hear your voices here, not just my own. Mr. said, my comment was an alley-oop, and Twins just dunked it and put his arm through the basket. That takes a majority of women off the table.
That's what I'm saying. You know, what is the, you know, I was trying to get an understanding of the main topic. So
Andre says, I disagree that communication can be made while being emotional. My apologies. Logic and emotion cannot occupy the same space. That is why they say to keep calm in a difficult situation because of emotions. I don't know. I 1000% disagree with that.
You say you do disagree with that?
I disagree with that. I think you can, like, emotions are natural. Being emotional and taking those emotions and utilizing them in a negative manner, I get that. That's where it says being emotional. But we experience emotions all the time, every day. Sometimes on a very subconscious level, we're experiencing emotion. And so to say that emotions and logic can't subside in communication, I'm going to have to disagree with that. I will say you can't communicate with an emotional person. You cannot communicate with a person who leads with their emotion. So if that's the comment, Andre, okay, I get that. If someone's constantly leading with their emotion, which was actually the premise of this show. For those of you who do not know how this show started, it was in my previous relationship. He told me to fuck my feelings. I was having a conversation with him and he was explaining something to me and I was trumping what he was saying by inserting my emotions about what he was saying, and he told me to fuck my feelings. So the premise of fuck your feelings is you should not allow your emotions to supersede someone else's emotions about what you've done in a relationship. So Twins, I don't get to slight Twins. Twins is explaining to me how he feels about this, and then I get mad and say, well, what you just said hurt my feelings. No, fuck your feelings. Allow me to say what it is that I have to say, and then we can discuss it after, right? I think I'm going to disagree with one that, but I would love to hear what you have to say about that, Twins.
Yeah, I agree. Logic and emotion cannot occupy the same space. It just doesn't work. Because I could be telling you about something. You know, I could tell you, I could be telling you how I love you and XYZ, but your emotions like, well, I don't feel that way. I feel you don't do this. I feel you don't do that. But I'm telling you that I do. And who are you to dictate how I love somebody based off your emotion? I can't love you the way that you think I should love you. I can only love you the way that I know how to love you myself. Now, there's some, now somewhere in between there, we can come to a medium there, but you can't just say, oh, well, I say I love you. And you said, no, you don't. Because I feel, because you being your emotions, I feel you don't. And I'm not going back and forth there with you with that.
In that particular example, is it emotions or is it insecurity? Because I've never been in a situation where a man says he loves me and I say, I don't think you don't. You think it's emotion and not, because I think a lot of that is rooted in insecurity.
Both. I'm just giving a random example.
No, I get that.
Yeah.
I get that.
But
Jack Spade said, I lied. I told the urologist that I already had 2 children and I wanted to focus on my career. The doctor understood and agreed, then scheduled me for the procedure. Maybe I should have done that. But I couldn't lie. It was my family doctor and he had to make a recommendation. And his recommendation was go see a psychologist before I tie your tubes, which is crazy. But I digress. Royce Monroe says women want a variety of men who I don't understand what this is.
Who has it all together? Who has it all together?
Who again? Women want a variety of men who have it all together to pick through while offering very little back.
Little in return, right? So they want the man who has everything, but they're often little in return. I get it.
Is that how you men feel?
Yeah. Because it's like this. What am I getting? What am I getting? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, now we're having a conversation today about what you bring to the table. Now we're having a conversation. What are we getting? You can't tell me what I cook. I can get it made for that. Now, most men, we know how to cook. So what's that? Oh, I know how to clean. My house is not there. You've been over to it. So I clear my house is clean. Like things that you think you're supposed to do, most of the time we already do. I already pay my bills, so I don't need your money. And plus, y'all don't share anyway. So what exactly are you bringing to the table? If you want me to take care of you for like, okay, use a case study. We talked about it before. You will like a man that pays 100% of the bills, right?
Oh,
You're gonna be fully 100% in your femininity, which is all good. So what do I get out of that?
You get a woman who's going to invest my money for us. So you don't want a woman who's going to invest money. You don't want a woman who's going to take the money that she's earning, put it into investment accounts so that we can eventually potentially create a real estate investment trust and be able to do stuff together.
Who already has the money. So you tell me you're gonna invest money that I already have. I don't need that from you.
Then clearly we're not compatible, right? Because you want something I can't give.
Keep going with the case study. Regardless of me and you compatible, what else are you bringing to the table?
Well, to the point, Mr. And you spoke last week about what it is that you want women to go to the table. And everybody, please go to that clip where I talk about men speak about what they want women to bring to the table. And if my memory serves me correctly, and pardon me because I've been up for a lot of hours, you said you wanted a woman who was feminine, who would cook.
Well, once again, that's what I want.
No, I'm saying, I'm repeating. So, Mr. and you can both correct me because you guys wanted the same thing. So, a woman who was feminine, who was able to cook, who was able to effectively communicate. There was great sex, and there's one I'm missing. There was 5.
There is, but we can always go back and watch that later.
Yes, please go back and watch the clip. There was 5. Mr. correct me on the 5th one. But I remember there were 5 things, and I remember commenting of none of that was our money. None of that was our accolades. None of that was the things that we traditionally say we bring to the table, right? Like peace. I'm pretty sure the 5th one was a woman who had peace. If I'm not mistaken, again, please go back and watch the clip. But if I'm mistaken, it was femininity, peace, a woman who can communicate, cook, and wanted great sex. And Mr. made the great point that a woman who brings all of those things to the table will never have to ask for a man for anything because he's naturally going to want to do it.
Yes, that's exactly what he said. Yep.
I remember. Right? A man's naturally going to want to do for his woman when she's bringing him the things that he wants. And I think that's the interesting part because I'm going to go back to, again, the premise of the show, Dating 101. Just because you're talking to a person or getting to know a person doesn't mean that you are what they want or vice versa. And you can have your checklist all you want. I check a lot of boxes, but it doesn't mean that I'm for that person. She can check this box and this box and this box, and it's just like we are not compatible, we are not aligned. our energies are off, or maybe our family values are off, all of those things. But I love when Mr. said, listen, and when you bring those intangibles, this is the word I've been using because intangibles are something that you cannot just, they're in someone. They're naturally in that someone. A woman who is used to chaos and toxicity doesn't just all of a sudden switch and become peaceful. I don't care how much therapy she has. She may understand why she's had some of the actions, but she just doesn't change overnight after a few therapy sessions. Like, "Ooh, I'm not peaceful," right? That's just not how it works. And so I think we need to understand some of those things when we are in relationships with people, right? Are we compatible? So, Royce and Monroe, oh, sorry, I just moved that one. Mr. said, yep, we all need to control our emotions so we can communicate. I agree. Sorry if I'm missing some comments, let me know if I've missed any, and I will make sure to bring them back up. Mr. also says, men don't dream of doing all this work on ourselves just to get a woman and pick up her slack. That's not attractive to us. What do we get that's worth the effort? Define slack, twins. I know that Mr. used that comment, but what when you hear that word slack coming from another man, what slack from women do you think you need to pick up?
Ooh, that's hard because that's his comment, but what's slack that was to pick up?
Slack or have picked up. Oh, I mean, again, you were a man who was. I don't want you to necessarily comment on your marriage, but you're a man who's been dated, been married, now been divorced, kind of dating again. Are you finding that there's some slack that you have to pick up for us women or the women you've dated?
Um, the if you want to consider anything slack, it would be the accountability in the relationship.
That we've lacked accountability?
Yeah. So whatever it may be, right? Whatever the accountability is, it could be communication, it could be sex, it could be finances, it could be whatever it may be, whatever it is, right?
Mhm.
That's slack we have to pick up because there's no way to make you do something that you should be doing that's beneficial for the whole family. Not just beneficial to me, but for the whole family, for the bigger picture. You're not doing it for me, you're doing it for us and the kids and everything else, the family. So whatever it is in that category, there's no accountability, meaning that if I say, hey, can you do this? I'll get to it when I want to. Like I can't make you do something.
Mhm. I agree. Okay, Andre says insecurity is an external force that is created by someone outside of the person being insecure. No one comes insecure. Okay. Royce Monroe says emotions made you. Sorry, I'm waiting for it to actually come on my screen. It's very small on this. So he said emotions made you stab me. Logic made me press charges.
That's a good one. That's a perfect one. That's a
What?
good one. Thank you, Royce. That is a good one right there. Emotions made you stab me, and me being logic had to call the police to get you arrested. That is perfect because that's exactly what happens. That is exactly what happens. You will do something. I had somebody throw cat food at me.
What?
Okay, so but I didn't act the emotional on it. You know what I'm saying? I had to pick up the phone, call the boys in blue, you know? That's the logical side. So yes, I get that part. So that was that from Royce was like an earlier example of how emotion and logic can work in the
Mhm.
same place.
Okay. Mr. says you're not compatible with most men with that financial strategy. Even if you did make the investments, you would still take half if we split. It'd be
Facts.
different if you put it in his name and it's untouchable.
Mm,
Why are we getting to the
mm.
divorce before the marriage? It's again, because I listen and we are
The
two
numbers is
divorced people.
spiking. The
I
numbers is
I get it.
spiking.
I get it.
Every
And
time
we
you
are
turn
two.
around, listen, hold on. You know why? Social media. Tyrese in jail because he had to pay $73,000 to his ex-wife for money, whatever. And he paid $7,500 a month. Who else? Tom Brady's wife was trying to take his stuff. Luckily, it was in his mom's name. Who else we just seen recently? I mean, it's all in the news. Young Jeezy and his ex-wife. He got paid $500,000 towards his daughter. Like, it's crazy the money that men have to shell out. So yes, that's why divorce is a big topic now, because men, and I'm one of those too, like I don't have millions of dollars, but I lost a lot of money, which I thought I would never lose. I thought if we did get to a certain point that we can sit at the table like two adults, handle it and go for it. And I was going to take care of my family, but nope. We got to get the legal system involved. Honestly, at this point now, men need to hear about this divorce and talk about it, because this is the risk you're going to take. Getting married now is like getting a quarter, flipping it, here's or tail. It's a 50% chance your marriage is going to fail. And 50% of that chance you lose when a marriage does fail, you can lose 90% of your life savings. Not even 50, 90%, if not all. And you got to start over. So imagine being a man who worked his whole life to get to, in his late 40s, to get to 6 figures, established house, car, crib, everything, 401k, XYZ. And then when the relationship fails, the woman gets a care package and takes 90% of that. So therefore, yeah. What's the girl's name? The basketball player, Iman Shumpert, his wife taking everything.
Oh, Tiana Taylor?
Yeah, it's just and she makes more money than him right now. But the point I'm trying to make is that's why we keep going to divorce, because that's unfortunately that is the hot topic. A lot of men are seeing this. They're like, you know what? I'm not getting married. I don't see no benefit. You got Will Smith, Jada Pinkett disrespecting Will. Like, there is no benefit out there of getting married. I'm sorry. Like, hold on. How can I compete out here in the world when these top dudes can't keep their woman happy? What chance do I have? I'll wait. I'm done. Usually I'm drinking tea, but I got coconut water today, y'all. So sip on my coconut water.
I don't have an argument about that. That is okay. What I will say is, because this show is skewed to an older audience, whether you have been married, divorced, or looking towards marriage, if marriage has 2 divorcees on this platform, I can say marriage is a business. And I get the emotions, but this is a situation where if as a man you feel this way, and again, twins, you've been through it. I personally know some of the stuff that you've been through. I completely get your stance. If you were to do it again, I would suggest getting someone to sign a prenup. I have offered to men in my life that if we were to get married, because anybody I marry is going to have something. So I've said I will happily sign a prenup. I've got a lawyer on standby. I will happily sign a prenup because I don't want you going into our marriage thinking about what you could lose if we get a divorce. It is very much there on paper of what the split would be. Sorry, go ahead. I don't want to cut. Go ahead.
No. I want to cut you off, so my apologies. What I want to say is this: most men, maybe all men, we don't go into marriage wanting to sign a prenup. If me and you were getting married and you talking about we didn't sign a prenup, I wouldn't marry you, because I don't.
Really?
I don't go. I didn't go to my marriage to fail. Like, I get it.
And I get that.
I get it. I get it. You want to protect your access. I totally understand. I get it. But in most cases, I mean, think about it. Most of these NBA basketball players, some get married once they're made the money in the NFL, then they get married. And a lot of them don't sign prenup, and they know about it, but they don't think that will happen. But it does happen. I don't know. It's just me.
I just here's my thing. I don't want anyone going into a marriage with me thinking about what he could lose if we don't work, especially because I am divorced, right? I recognize that going in as a woman who's already been married and divorced, even though I walked away with absolutely nothing, right? I didn't go after anything. That was my choice. But I understand that there is a strike against me, and any man that I'm going into is like, she's already done this and she's been divorced, right? I get protecting yourself. It's a business move. I know how easy it is to get into a marriage contract. I also know how hard it is to get out of a marriage contract. And so, if we're going to go into this contract, you should feel comfortable about what you're getting in the event that the contract has to end, right? They do that in partnerships. When you go into a partnership, a business partnership, there is actually, in good partnerships, there is actually an agreement talking about the dissolution of assets and the dissolution of the business and what were to happen if the business were to be dissolved. Who gets what, who's responsible for what, if there's a buy-in. Those are things that are actually talked about in business. And so understanding that marriage with all the emotions, because you men are talking about emotions and logic, you're going to go into it with a logical stand. I might be like, babe, I love you. It's amazing. You're the wedding of my dreams. My man is going to be thinking about how I protect my assets, and I have no problem signing a prenup. I think I should sign a prenup. I think it should be very clear if we were to break up, and then we can focus on actually loving each other and being married instead of, holy shit, this is what's going to happen if we break up. That's just me. Before we continue, Jack Spade said, a lot of the women talk to men about they can cook and clean to men like they just graduated high school. Dude is 36. He's been fending for himself pretty well all these years. Are women saying that to you guys? Are women coming into things like, again, I don't know this dating landscape, dating women at this point. I have not dated a woman in many, many years. So for the men, are women really coming to you saying, I can cook and I can clean, and that's what they're bringing to the table? Twins is silent, so I'm guessing that is affirmative.
Oh, I'm sorry. What was that question? I was reading the comment. Go ahead.
No, I was saying, because what Jack Spade just said of women talking about, I can cook and clean, like they just graduated high school, but a man is 36 and he's been fending for himself for all these years. So are women coming in to dating situations, and when you're talking about what you bring to the table, because the conversation comes up, even if it's not in those words, are women saying, well, I can cook and clean?
Yeah, just saying that. I mean, some are saying that, but at this point now, a lot of them can't cook. But that's the crazy part.
Mr. You have a really good question. Do women make friends with other women with a predetermined checklist in mind? At our big age, I think that's very different. Like as a kid, maybe if you make friendships, no. But at our big age, strategically that would make sense. But also, most women are not having sex with the woman that they're going to be having this checklist towards. We got to understand that female relationships and male relationships are not the same as when you're in a romantic relationship. The moment sex gets involved and emotion gets involved, I love my best friends with all my heart, but I am not effing them. And therefore, the men that I am effing, my emotion towards him is going to be very different than it is towards my best friend. That man is supposed to be my best friend, my lover, my comforter, my protector, my provider. There are going to be things that my man is going to do that my best friend of almost 30 years is never going to be able to do for me and to me. And so therefore, the checklist for friendship is just not going to be the same as the checklist for a relationship. And men, you guys can say the same thing. When you're making friends, you don't have a male friendship checklist, but you should have a checklist for the women. It's called standards.
I mean, actually, we do. We actually kind of do.
I kind of have a checklist, but personally, for me, I do have a checklist for my friends because I don't have ratchet and uneducated and
All right.
ignorant and all those things. Friends, I can't be friends with certain women. I don't have a friend group with a bag of baby daddies and all kinds of stuff like that. No. Oh, the big words. Andre says women are naturally hypergamous. Women date up and men date down. It's natural. Can't disagree with that. Mr. And we're gonna wrap up soon, but this has been great. Thank you guys for commenting because this show has kind of gone all over the place. Mr. says slack equals the shortcoming she, capitalized, was supposed to work on herself, i.e., her lack of accountability. There's the A word again. Her poor spending habits, her insecurities she projects onto others, her lack of self-control.
Mm.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
However,
that's
with
exactly what I was trying to say. That was exactly what I was trying to say.
However, with that said, at what point do you recognize that that woman is unaccountable for her actions, is terrible with money, is projecting her insecurities, and you cut her loose? Because going back to my original point about dating, dating is about the process of elimination. I just don't think that those things are hidden for months and months and months. Like, and gentlemen, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. If you're out here on these streets dating women who are able to hide their true selves and their true characters for months until you get in a relationship, let me know that I'm wrong. But I'm thinking that those things come out soon enough
It's both.
before you progress the relationship.
It's both. Some can hide it very well, and some can tell you, some kind of show you while you're dating, like in the early stage. But it comes down to the knowledge of the men now knowing. Like you understand now, we are now more mature men than we were in our early 20s. See, we wouldn't think about finances back then. We was thinking about the cookie and basic stuff that didn't really matter. But now that we're in our late 40s and more mature, those things now do matter.
I can
So
agree with that.
So it all comes with experience and knowledge and time. So if anyone who's 18 years, whatever, and you're listening to this show, take note. This is going to help you out later on.
Facts. Mr. I agree with this. Men are not avoiding marriage, we're avoiding divorce. That's stats prove more than 50% of marriages end in divorce, and it's the man that gets bent over with no Vaseline. I don't disagree. As a woman, I fear divorce. And I think we fear divorce for different things, right? Like, I fear divorce because I cannot imagine getting remarried and being 60 and alone, right? A man might fear divorce because he's losing money. I fear divorce because I've now lost my youth. I'm out here old and lonely on these streets. And to quote Kevin Samuels, I'm going to need to buy a dog and die alone, right? So I think we both fear divorce. It's for different things. Now, some women do fare better in divorces. Let's just call it what it is. For those who are going after someone's finances, for those of us who do not care and just wanted to be rid of our significant others, I got nothing in my divorce other than the piece of paper that said you are now divorced. It's the only thing I got in my divorce. And my husband is a military man. I could have taken that man for everything, but I didn't want to because I wasn't bitter. I wasn't angry. I wasn't even upset at him. I just wanted to be free to move on with my life, right? And that was always, and I had always told him if our marriage ended, I didn't want anything from him. And I stuck to that. Let's see, there's a couple more comments. Guys, you guys have been chatting. Sorry, I am missing a whole bunch of comments. I don't think I'm gonna get through some of these. So I'm just gonna twins, if you saw a comment that you think you wanna talk about. Okay, Andre Fawcett, he wanted to jump on, but he's in transit. Hold on, Andre, you can jump on. Are you trying to say that you left that comment for me? I know it wasn't you. But okay. Jack Spade has a comment here. Jack Spade said the secret is don't buy a woman everything that she wants. Keep her kept with what she needs. Then ration the work. Sorry, then ration the wants. Okay.
That's a good. That is true. I can rock with that statement.
Okay, Jack Spade is talking about my prenup comment. Okay, he says, sorry, but after 10 years, that prenup begins to erode. And yes, a decent divorce attorney can make that prenup not worth anything after 5 years.
That is
So
true
how
too.
how do you win in this world of, listen, I created a show for people who wanted relationships, who wanted solid foundations, who wanted to rebuild community. So we get that. I'm going to get that. Again, I'm speaking as a divorced woman, and Twins is a newly divorced man. Okay. So we are divorced people, been married. We get that side of it. How do you get back to the other side? How do you get back to the other side of people loving each other and wanting to do this for everything? Because that's my next thing. I am not remarrying to get divorced. There is no part of me that's going to do this latter part of this journey called life and say, let me go into something to turn around and be like Miss Tina, which I actually think is ridiculous. I'm hearing about this Tina Lawson divorce, and I'm just like, the reasoning I'm hearing, I'm like, this is got to be the stupidest crap I've ever heard. Why two people are getting divorced? But I digress. And this Miss Tina is Beyonce's mama. I just think the reason I have heard, and I haven't read the divorce um, filings, but it was just some silly things about some stuff on Twitter, and he was watching porn and whatever, right? But I know for myself that I am not going into this to divorce again. So for those of us who are committed to the commitment of being in a long relationship, gentlemen, I'm going to ask you, how do we change this narrative? Help women understand how we change this narrative that you men have about getting into marriages just for them to end. Twins, I see you're reading something.
Yeah.
What comment should I put up?
No.
Okay.
I was just where you at right now is a good one.
So how do we get back? How do we get back to loving each other? How do we get back to, and this is going to be my last question, gentlemen. And I'm sorry I did not get to everybody's comments. Sorry if I didn't get to, this was a lot. But
You
how
gonna
do we
need
get back to loving each other?
you gonna need another iPad or something to keep up with this.
Guy, it's a lot. I appreciate you men. Like, y'all are coming in. You guys showed up for us tonight, and you have no idea how much we appreciate the fact that you are showing up for us tonight and showing out. Again, like, subscribe, and share. And while you're at it, check out my books on Amazon, Google Toshiba Billings to find my 6-part Sienna series and No Handouts for Black Girls. And look out for my next book, Fuck Your Feelings, The Journey to Imperfect Love. But I digress with my thing as Twins reads his comment. How do we get back, guys? How do we get to loving each other and to the idea of commitment and community? And this is going to be a bigger conversation, and I think it might be something that I put over to next week. But let's start. Twins, how do you think we get back to that?
Well, men want to get married. Men want to be in relationship. So it would have to start with the ladies.
What does it, what do we need? What are we not doing that we need to do?
Everything. I'm sorry. Um, it's hard to say. I mean, it's right now. It just seems so easy for y'all to leave relationship when either you're unhappy or whatever may happen. So I don't know. This will take a group of women to try to figure this out. It ain't the men.
But let's start with what you guys are saying is wrong with us. So I heard lack of accountability. I'm hearing insecurities. I'm hearing women talking about bringing things to the table that y'all just don't give two F's about, right? We're not bringing those intangibles, the femininity, the ability to effectively communicate, to be able to be intimate with, and I'm using the word intimacy instead of sex, because I think for a lot of women they hear sex and they don't understand what men are actually asking for is intimacy. It's that because sex is intimacy, right? You're asking for certain things and you're saying you're not getting them. Is that what's happening? You're just not getting those things from us. So when I go to the next women's meeting, I can say, ladies, I've spoken to the men. And this is what they're saying we need to address as women.
Okay, if I can give you something, I'll say attitude. How about that? Let's start there. Attitude.
What's wrong with our attitude?
Are you serious? Are you serious?
No, I'm asking a serious question. You have to understand. I'm gonna go. I think it was Jack
Wait,
Spade that
that's
said,
the point right there. The fact that you don't know that women have attitudes, that's the crazy part to me. Like, what attitude? What are we talking about?
no, I get that there is a lot of women without attitude, but I'm gonna go back to the comment that Jack Spade was kind of making in terms of like, probability and possibilities, and it's a small subsection of women, something of that sort. Like I grew up with a subsection of women where I don't see that in my world. I see it in the world, but I don't experience this in my world. Culturally, I grew up with women very differently. I actually grew up with a lot of women with two-parent homes who were either from African or Asian or Caribbean backgrounds, who were raised and groomed a certain way. We weren't even. I still don't raise my voice in the presence of my mother. My mother can still shoot me a look from across the room, and I shut my mouth up.
But I get
That's what I come from. So I
but
don't have that circle of women who are loud and obnoxious and rude and throwing cat food at people.
but here's the thing with that. Here's the flaw that you have in your group of friends. Most of y'all are not married now. What is the problem? If y'all these women who listen, submissive, all this, all that.
Friends are not married. I'm actually one of the only unmarried friends, and I'm divorced.
Okay, but you just said I'm around this group of women that XYZ. So what women are you referring to then?
I said most of my friends are married. I am one of the only single ones, and I'm divorced.
Okay, but so you're the only one then.
I'm one of the only single ones.
Right.
In my group of friends.
Okay. So this scenario, what you're saying with your friends don't.
No, but you're saying our attitude. And I'm asking you to further explain attitude, but you're saying, well, the fact that you don't understand, but I don't have a group of friends that you would say have a whole bunch of attitude. So explain, because not every woman is in that category. If you guys are encountering those types of women, it is important for those of us who are not that way. For any man who has dealt with me, who can come on this platform, I am not a woman who's coming with attitudes. I'm actually quite peaceful and all of those amazing things. And that type of stuff doesn't resonate with me, whether in relationships or friendship. I just can't deal with it.
Okay.
So explain to the women, what is the attitude?
Okay, hold on. Girl, let me explain this. Okay. So how many is y'all in your group?
4. 4 core women.
So 4 women. Now you work in corporate America, you're around hundreds of women, XYZ. Are they married too?
No.
That kind of
I don't work around hundreds of women, but no, yes. In
my workplace, you're in corporate America, you're around married.
I work for very small organizations. The largest organization I probably worked for had 40 people. I don't work for a big.
I get that, but still you work with other subgroups of people.
I do.
Right. Now, I'm not saying you gotta be best friends with everybody, but is everyone married that you run into?
No.
That's the point I'm making. And
but you're saying women have attitudes. I'm asking you to explain the attitude. So whether they're married or unmarried, doesn't matter if it's an attitude. If the issue is attitude, what is the attitude?
It don't even gotta be relationships. It could be how you talk to your boss or how your boss talk to you. Attitude. Like y'all have natural attitude, period. I can't believe she said that to me. I can't believe he said that to me. Like, it be the smallest things. That's what I mean. It's the smallest thing. Like, if you don't know that thing, I can't help you with that because now it's like you must be living in a bubble then.
Mr. Mister is actually answering my question directly. Thank you, Mr. Mister. He said disdain equals the belief that someone is undeserving of respect that is a very large portion of the attitude men speak of. I can understand that. So what you're saying, twins, and I remember a conversation that Uncle Kevin Samuels had with a young lady that sparked a lot of debate where she said she doesn't smile at men. It was quite the
Well,
controversial conversation that she doesn't walk around smiling at men. And I'm actually quite the complete opposite. I smile at actually freaking everybody,
but
right?
that's an example of the attitude that I'm referring to. Like,
But I get that. So I can, and so to use that, a woman who doesn't go around smiling at men for whatever reason, and you guys can go back and watch the Kevin
it's
Samuels
not that
episode because
smile
I
at
want to
men,
misquote her.
period. It just her energy, period. It ain't got nothing to do with men. It just a beautiful woman. She walk around faces screwed up. Hey, let's smile. Why I got to smile for? Who am I smiling for? Attitude, right there. Regardless if a man or woman say it, attitude. That's what we're talking about.
And you guys are finding that you're getting that more often than not. Is
That
that
happens
what
all
I'm
the
hearing?
time. So sometimes you just I talk to a woman in 2 seconds, a little smart mouth in a conversation. Matter of fact, I tried a date night recently, and the girl said, "Hey, call me," because I'm like, I don't know how long I'm doing this app. I give her a number, and I'm like, "Hey, what you doing? Watching TV? Okay, what you get into? Oh, I work." I'm like, "Bitch, why you give me your number then? If you gonna have an attitude, click." That's what I'm saying. Like, yo, I'm the first time getting just talking to you, have a conversation and attitude. I'm like, I ain't got this to do. Next.
I get that. And I'm also going to always preface this conversation. And it's funny, like in dating, I think men start to realize that about me. I am culturally very different than you, right? And so, yes, some of my experiences, some of the things that I've seen, some of my thoughts are very different because culturally I'm very different. I'm not American. I don't understand the American. I may have been married to American men, but I think they chose me because I wasn't American. Like that sounds awful, but I think my husband chose me and my ex-fiance chose me because I wasn't American because of what they had become accustomed to. So respectfully, when I ask some of these questions, I want men to understand I am a Jamaican-born woman who grew up in Toronto, Canada. That is the most culturally diversity in the entire world. Look it up, Google it. And so when I ask questions, it isn't because I am naive or I'm trying to pretend that this stuff isn't happening. I don't live in your world. And many of you who come on this platform are American Black men born in America or experiencing things with American Black women, of which I am not. So I need to actually start doing that disclaimer so people understand that part. I'm not naive. I'm not foolish. I'm not having rose-colored glasses, but I genuinely don't understand as a woman whose cultural background is different than yours, some of the things that you're experiencing and why, if that makes sense. I hope that helps. Yes, thank you, twins, for comments in the chat. I do want to read this comment and then I'm going to read Jack Spade's comment last. So Mr. Smith says, we are undeserving of a smile, a sandwich being made, a gentle tone of voice when communicating, etc. And see, this is actually going to go back to the disclaimer I just made. So I was recently having a conversation with a gentleman who I am speaking to. We are actively dating. And I was explaining to him that how I was brought up, you always have to serve your man's plate first, right? And you remember that whole debate, twins, because you were watching the show and women went off on me and that thing. When I cook, this is how it goes. My man's plate is served first, and then if there are children, it's the oldest to actually the youngest. That's how I serve in my home. So it's the man, it's the oldest and the youngest. I serve my plate last, but nobody eats until I sit down. So his plate is served, the kids, mine's, but nobody's eating until I sit down. I was also explaining to him that if my mother was ever at my house and saw him get up to fix his own plate and I wasn't sick, my mother would get mad because she feels it is my duty to fix his plate. Whether he's eating before me or not is another thing, but I'm supposed to fix his plate. That's how I grew up. So this is interesting to me. And I remember women giving me side eye at an event where I went with my previous relationship because I went and fixed my ex's plate for him and then fixed my lock. So again, I preface this to say, when I ask these questions, I don't understand that. I fixed my friend's boyfriend's plate because she was either busy, whatever the thing. My friend had a boyfriend. He was going to drive back to where he was. She was busy doing something else. He said, and me and my friend put a care package together for him to go. So I don't get that. Like, we are actually very confused on this side of the border, culturally where I'm from, when we hear these conversations and when our men who are American turn around and say, well, this is new. And we're like, where have you been? Like, what women have you been dating? So this is like, what? This is crazy to me. Hold on. Twins, I know you want to make a comment and then I'm going to read what Jack Spade has to say. You're laughing, so you don't have a comment, or you do have a comment.
No. I'll just read a comment. No, I don't have a comment. I don't have a comment.
Okay, so Jack Space says, I'm sorry, but I hosted men and women relationship discussions dating back to 1995 and stopped in 2015. That is 20 years. Same words, same rebuttal / deflections, just a different generation. Jack Spade, we invite you to come on our show. Please, again, it's always in the comment section. We would love to hear your thoughts. You sound like someone who we can probably learn from. You've definitely been doing this relationship conversation a lot longer than myself and Twins. So please, I literally would love for you to come on. You do not have to have your camera on because we leave the link to join the show in the comment section. Yes, Twins, you want to read something. You got your phone in your hand.
I'm just reading through the comments. I'm just reading through the comments.
Did I miss something important? Anybody want to quickly come to the stage? Oh, okay. Let me see. Oh, there. Oh, hold on. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Jack Spade's going off on Miss Tina. So I'm just going to leave that comment there. But I'm actually going to end it off with Royce Monroe's comment. Royce Monroe says, women don't understand being content.
Oh, that's a good one right there. I totally agree with that. Because you know how many times I hear in a relationship that me and you are in a couple. We're a couple. Boom, we're a couple. But you're always telling me about your girlfriend who's single or married and how she always doing this. She's getting flown out. This is how XYZ, new guy. I wish we could do things just like her. But you know what? Because you're a single friend. Let's give an example, okay?
Yeah.
Of course, all your friends are married, right? Well, I'm saying that I heard a scenario where me and you are married, but you have a girlfriend who's single, which shouldn't be your friend. But anyway, you have a single girlfriend who's always getting flown out, doing this, doing that, and you're always bringing that in my ear, like, oh my God, I wish we can travel. I always do these things. Oh, she got a new bag. And I'm like, you know, she go to bed at night by herself, right? You know, she got a new do every other week, right? You know what she got to do when she do go on these trips, right? Like, do you understand what comes with all that? So it goes to the comment that they're not content. You want to live through your friend's life, but meanwhile, your friend wouldn't be you. God land my plane.
I mean, I think a lot of women just need to be honest with themselves. Like, I think a lot of women need to be honest that they're just not happy in their life. Like, let's just be honest. Like, there are a lot of women who are not happy being parents. There are a lot of women who hate being mothers. They would never admit that because societally, it's a bad thing to say, I hate being a mother. I hate having to care for another child. Fuck these kids. I was told recently I should not say fuck these kids. But there are a lot of women, if they could, they would actually say fuck these kids. Fuck these decisions that I made. If I could take it back, I would have never had these kids. I would have never done that because I wouldn't have known my life would have changed. It's honest. I think a lot of women just need to be honest. And then they would reconcile the life that they're living versus life they want. Let me tell you something. Let me go back to dating. The reason For me, dating is a process of elimination. There are certain things that I know I just don't want because I can't tolerate them. A man with kids, a man with young kids, a man with kids who actively have to come in my home and I have to care for them. I don't want it. If that makes me a bad person, that's okay. Because it doesn't work with my life. Because the last thing I want to be thinking about is the fact that I can't go on the vacation I plan to go on because your child got ill and we had to cancel it.
Ooh.
Or there was a soccer game, or there was a basketball tournament, or there was a dance recital. I want to go to Bali on a boat and shake my ass. And so the fact that you have kids that does not allow me to do that, I'm not going to date you. I'm okay with saying that. I'm okay with that. But there's a lot of women who, for whatever reason, say, it's okay. I've been that woman. It's okay. I can do it. For whatever reason, this man fits this checklist. But when it comes to the life that they actually want to live, it's not. Or we're afraid that we're not going to be chosen again. So all these women who talk about this person's a pick me and this person's a pick me, every woman wants to be chosen. That's why we go ahead and give our vaginas to men who don't want us, because we're hoping one day that we're going to give the right man our vagina and that man is going to choose us. Because no woman, let's be clear, all these women are lying. No woman just wants to be on these streets single and alone. And to your point, twins, going to bed at night or having to fly out with this man or fly out with that man or do this with this man, they're lying to themselves. I'm going to boldly say on this thing. So yes, I agree. There are a lot of women who are not content because they're not honest. They're not honest with themselves. And you have to have a keep it real moment with yourself and assess yourself. So to the person who made this comment, because I'm going to go back to that comment, that's why I probably am not talking to you. Because for whatever reason, when I did not see the life that I wanted. And the last thing I'm going to do is not be happy with the decisions that I'm making in my dating life. So actually, let's wrap it up because we'll have 30 seconds each, because it's been a long show, for our dating tips.
Dating tip. You can go first today.
Dating tip number 1. Dating is not a relationship. Dating is a vetting process that is used to determine with whom you will end up in a relationship. And during the dating is when you are supposed to decide on whether this person aligns with you, whether your energies are good, whether you could see a life with them. And if you don't, you keep it pushing. No harm, no foul. Again, not everybody gets the job, even if they get the interview. So vet correctly, and you won't end up being in the comment section of my men talking about how horrible you are as women. I'm just saying. Twins.
All right, dating tip number 2 for the night. Fellas, try to date a woman who has accountability friends, or they have a group, a circle of women that are married, right? So they're gonna definitely keep her accountable. Because outside of that, if they got a bunch of single friends, it's not gonna work well. It's not gonna end well for you. And that's all I got for you tonight.
I love that. Accountability friends. I think we've talked about that before. Accountability friends. That is a great one. Mister, I know every once in a while you throw in your dating tip. I'm going to give it about 30 seconds to wrap up. Oh, you did. There we go. I knew Mr. Tip. So Mister's dating tip for the night is in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And go on the screen in front of me. He says, fellas, oh Jesus Christ, Mr. I haven't even continue. Fellas, if you hit it doggy style and only last 3 minutes, technically you lasted 21 minutes in dog years.
My man. Big shout outs for Jake and Andre, excuse me, and Royce and everyone who joined the show tonight. Big shout out to y'all as well tonight. I really appreciate y'all on this Tuesday night. Big shout out. I said Jack. Sorry about that. Mess your names up.
Nothing. I have nothing. Jack Spade, I actually would have still divorced my husband because my husband had 3 babies on me one that I found out through a DNA test. The other two, I don't know what happened. I left it. So no, even with that, fuck them kids. They're not mine. They're not my blessing. I would have had the same attitude. I would have still left his ass. But that's just me. And that is it, everyone. Good night. Thank you again to everyone in the comment section. You guys have been great. Like, share, subscribe. Tell your mama, tell your friends, tell your barber. Put it up in the barber shop. Whatever you got to do, put it up in the mechanic shop. I don't know. Tell them about Fuck Your Feelings, where we're changing the conversation around Black relationships. And we are out. Good night. Bye.
See y'all next week.